Today I'm going to teach you how to do the seated press because we can't really come up with very many other options for the press supplemental lifts. So seriously, there's not a lot of supplemental lifts that you can do for the press. We do the standing press, and most of us, as we get better and better, we do a press 2.0. So we use our hips to help throw the weight. You can see that video. We've done those videos about the press and the press 2.0. And as we get more and more advanced in the press, we'll often learn how to lay back in the press as we do with what's called an Olympic press. The problem with the layback of the press and using the hips to start the press is it really takes away the amount of actual pure pressing your shoulders are doing. So what I did is I started to have my lifters a few years ago do the seated press as a supplemental movement because it took the hips completely out of the movement and it took the layback completely out of the movement. It's just a strict, yucky, hard overhead press. And so I tend to do these off of the catch pins rather than the J hooks because it's easier to roll the bar back in position so you can take your normal press grip. So you want a close grip, thumbs wrapped around the bar, wrists straight, elbows forward. She's gonna kind of sit up tall, and sit up tall and then get into position. So now you can see wrists are straight, elbows are forward of the wrist just a little bit. Forearm is vertical, she's in a good position. She's kind of digging her feet into the floor and she's gonna press straight up overhead. And at the top, big shrug up, try to touch your ears, and right back down. Take a deep breath and press and shrug. Let's do one more, just like that. And down, good. All right, so one of the things I wanna do is I wanna prohibit you from laying back too much. And what will happen, go ahead and take a grip, elbows forward, wrist straight, sit up tall, there we go. All right, now, if you tried to start to lay back, so kind of press and pretend to, as you press, if you're laying back, you feel like you're gonna fall backwards, right? And so go ahead and set it back down. That's actually what I'm trying to avoid. If someone is struggling with falling backwards on the seated press and they're not laying back, they just have balance issues, they just feel like they're gonna fall backwards, which I clearly don't want them to do, I'll put bumper plates in front of their feet to help them stay grounded and give them something to push against a little bit. Now here's the potential problem with the weights on the floor. So go ahead and throw your elbows underneath, sit up tall. As you start to press, now you can actually lay back. So try to lay back. And remember, this is what we're trying to avoid. So if you have somebody that has too much layback, actually don't let them put the weights on the ground to kick against because I want them to have to struggle to stay in balance and keep their shoulders underneath the barbell. As I press up overhead, I'm actually trying to get my shoulders underneath the barbell as quickly as I can, which means I'm doing two things. One, go ahead and press. I'm driving the barbell up and back. And two, one more rep. As it does that, I'm trying to get my shoulders underneath the bar, so the shoulders are gonna start coming forward. As the bar goes up and back, the shoulders come forward. When they come into alignment, the bar is gonna go up much easier. That's the goal on the press, right? And this will help you do that in a way that will help problem solve or troubleshoot people who struggle with a big giant layback where they throw that bar out in front and then they get this massive moment arm between their shoulder and the weight. So how do I know where to put these catch pins? Well, I'm gonna put the catch pins about 1 inch or 2 lower than where the bar would be when I'm sitting up in my normal press position. And I like the catch pins because again, if they were on the J hooks, they would start out here. And with an empty bar, that's not that big of a deal. But when you have 400 pounds on the bar, how are you gonna get 400 pounds out of a J hook this way? We need to be over your kind of center of gravity here, which is good, right? And so you put it should kind of hit you in the middle of your breastbone, and then you're gonna take your grip. You're gonna have a little bit of a rounded back at the start, but you're gonna, again, close grip, elbows forward, wrists straight, pop up tall, and now you can see the bar's a few inches off the catch pins, exactly where it needs to be. And when she's done, she can just relax and set it right back on the catch pins. All right, so let's talk about where to do the seated press. So if you have a lower body injury, like a knee problem, and sprained ankle, anything like that, those are good reasons to do a seated press. That's a good substitute for a standing press when you can't stand, obviously. So seated press works great. The other thing there is I need to be able to do a supplemental lift, and one of the things I do with supplemental lifts when I get to a 4-day split after the main bench press is I'm gonna try to pick lifts that I can either overload and do more weight than I normally could on a normal press, and that would be like a press lockout. We have videos for that. Or I might choose lifts that are actually harder than the normal lift. And a seated press is that, because in that normal press, because I'm gonna use my hips to start the movement, because I'm gonna use a layback to finish the movement, and I don't get to use either one of those to help me with the lift, you're gonna lift probably about 30% less on this than you would on your normal press. And the goal here is to try to take this, and we know in the beginning it's probably gonna be a weak point kind of training, but you'll get quite a bit stronger pretty quick. And when you do, you can do that for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then you can change the supplemental lift to something else. So you could change to a press lockout. You could do it from different heights, right? From nose or eyes or top of head or even a couple inches above the head. But this is a great place to start because it just overloads the body. It's a little lighter weight. It doesn't beat up the joints as bad, but it really forces you to use your pressing muscles and make your pressing muscles strong without getting a run at it with your hips or without cheating your way to the top with a big layback. So if you're watching this video and you don't know how to actually do your normal press, you should click on the link right up this side this time, up here, for our press playlist.